Greetings to all of you who are here for this installation of Leadership Life. Grateful to share with you once again, Pastor Cecil Williams from Bethel AMEC Church in San Francisco. And we want to come almost to the end of this Lenten season and sharing about this notion of leadership. Look, we've come from the perspective of some of the components of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, of the positions and boards of leadership. But generally today, I want to hearken back to the same time around which the AMEC Church was birthed, but at the same time, not necessarily planted only in the AMEC Church, but to use this as a archetype, if you will, for leadership, for somebody who works in a business, for somebody who works in the church, for somebody who is an entrepreneur, for somebody who is a professor in a classroom. Whatever your category is, I believe that this individual in this particular book that he wrote is something that we can all use, male, female, black, white, anybody under the sound of my voice, as we say in the church, who is willing to listen and hear the layers of what's going on in his life. The name of the individual is Frederick Douglass, and the name of the book is The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave. And in the book, he writes about a time when he began to speak within the abolitionist movement. He began to come to some level of prominence, but he did not start there. Most of us know, as he was coming through time, being born into slavery, he came through hardships that are unimaginable. And we don't want to walk all into those today, except to say that the things that were done to him were inhumane, and just to survive was a big accomplishment. Some of you today, some of the things that you've gone through just to survive has been a major accomplishment. So before we read anything from Frederick Douglass, can I celebrate you? Can I celebrate the fact that you have made it through to a place and to a point where your life really is an indicator of how good our God is and how strong you really are. It is the things you've been able to overcome in your own life, both within and without, that has caused for me to be able to say to you that you're probably a pretty good leader and you may not even know it. Frederick Douglass kind of gives us a hint to this. He's talking about a time when he barely knew how to read, and he also was becoming a part of the abolitionist movement in this country. And this is what he said: "I took right hold of the cause. I could do but little, but what I could, I did with a joyful heart, and never felt happier than when in an anti-slavery meeting. I seldom had much to say at the meetings because what I wanted to say was said so much better by others." But listen to the switch. "The truth was, I felt myself a slave, and the idea of speaking to white people weighed me down. I spoke but a few moments when I felt a degree of freedom and said what I desired with considerable ease. From that time until now, I have been engaged in pleading the cause of my brethren. With what success and with what devotion, I leave those acquainted with my labors to decide." There is an overcoming on the inside of us that's spoken of a little bit indirectly, but I think appropriate for our time. There is the calling of the individual. This is in Matthew 22, if those of you looking it up in the Bible, 22 verse 14. There's a calling that one has on one's life. And then there is the choosing, which I think I've shared with you before, that calling and that choosing points you towards an assignment. An assignment is a people and a place which you are called to go, and you are crafted or chosen to operate in. Everybody is not selected for every kind of work. In the church, some of you may be stewards and some may be trustees, may have the luxury of having both skill sets and being able to do them well. Some of you called to be pastors, and some of you called to play the piano. Some of you called to do very different things, and some very similar to other people. Some of you to start a business, some of you to work in a business, some of you to work for large companies, some for small. Some to be a line worker, some to be a manager, some to be an owner, some to be a CEO. Whatever you've been called into and however you've been crafted or chosen to be, there is an assignment, there's a people and a place where you can execute this. And at the end of the day, it really isn't about who likes or doesn't like how you do what you do in your calling. Because the calling doesn't come from them, and the calling doesn't come really from you. The calling comes from above. The calling comes from something greater than you. The calling comes for these people of faith that may be watching right now. The calling comes from Christ. And so because of it, you and I now have an obligation to answer the call. We have an obligation to let God choose us or craft us to be in a particular place. And I would say to you that the assignment almost becomes apparent, at least in stages, if not in the long term, because you get to see from where you are right now what it is and where it is and who it is that you're supposed to be working with and working on. There's a movie that says there's nothing worse than wasted talent. And I want to believe that you have some talents, skills, and gifts that are under wraps right now, that haven't been used or maybe only been used to get a paycheck. But what about the things that you can step into and do right now that other people marvel at how you do it? And on top of that, you forget to do things like eat and sleep because it's so much in the rhythm of who you are as a person. What are the things that keep you up at night and wake you up early in the morning and you don't need an alarm clock to do so? What are the things that as you get more and more into them, you feel, once again, your heartbeat moving? You feel your brain synapse popping ideas back and forth in your own mind. What is it that you have been called and chosen to do as an assignment for your life? And so much like Frederick Douglass, I ask of you now that you would consider and think about that you have been fearfully and wonderfully made by God, that you are made in the image and likeness of God. And I don't believe that even if you're an atheist or agnostic person, that you believe that the notion of God is one without purpose, is one without assignment, is one without an ability to do things that are different than other people and maybe even far surpassing how others have done it in the past. You are uniquely made to step into roles and to step into places where your gifts need to be unwrapped. There is a people who need what you do and really just need your presence in the place. There are some people that you know of that when they walk into the room, it changes the atmosphere in the room. People light up, people's hearts get a little lighter because they now believe that they are able to get some things done that possibly they didn't believe they couldn't get done before. You're that person. And how you win is first by overcoming the fear that you have within yourself. First by addressing the God-sized holes in your heart that we have used cheap substitutes to try and fill. And then walking in the faith and the strength that God made you for a reason. That God made in you something that needs to be unwrapped in the world. That needs to be utilized for the good of others. And that really is a critical piece, not to try and please other people, but to assist, support, and help other people so that they might also find where they're supposed to be in life, what their call and choosing an appointment is in life. One of the most wonderful things in life is to be able to watch people grow from where they were when you found them to where it is that God intended for them to be. And so I challenge you in this Lenten season to not just fast and give up something, but that you really would be filled in the places that the Lord can fill you and use you and be a strength for somebody else. You never know, there may be tens, hundreds, or thousands of people who need what you do. Don't sit on it. Stop waiting. You are the leader that we have been waiting for. And there's no time like the present to start exercising your gifts so that somebody can be blessed by it. God bless you. We'll see you soon.